Let's get started with our first news story of the day. Former ONE Championship double champion Reinier de Ridder has made a bold prediction about one of the most highly anticipated potential matchups in the UFC, and it's a take that might surprise a lot of fans. De Ridder, who has trained closely with both Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev, recently shared his thoughts in an interview with MMA Junkie, and he believes Dricus has what it takes to not only win, but actually finish Khamzat if they fight at UFC 319. Speaking to MMA Junkie, De Ridder said, "I think Dricus will win. I don't think Khamzat will get him out of there early, and Dricus is a beast. He keeps going, and he gets better every round. I see Dricus finishing him in the late rounds, like 4th or 5th, with a lot of volume. Sure, Khamzat might take him down in the 1st or 2nd round, maybe even get to his back, but Dricus has a good shot." Now that's a huge endorsement coming from someone who knows both fighters personally. Dricus du Plessis, the current UFC middleweight champion, has been on an incredible run lately. He recently dethroned Sean Strickland in a hard-fought war, and his cardio, pressure, and durability were on full display in that performance. Dricus has proven time and time again that he can take punishment, stay calm under pressure, and come back stronger as the fight goes on. He's not the kind of fighter who breaks. In fact, he thrives in deep waters. On the other hand, Khamzat Chimaev is one of the most feared fighters in the sport today. His explosiveness, wrestling, and aggression in the early rounds have overwhelmed nearly every opponent he's faced so far. However, some fans and analysts have pointed out that Chimaev tends to slow down if he doesn't get an early finish, especially when dragged into the later rounds against tough, durable opponents. That's exactly the kind of challenge Dricus du Plessis brings to the table. According to De Ridder, even though Chimaev might dominate the early moments with his grappling and control, Dricus is unlikely to fold. And as the fight enters the championship rounds 4 and 5, that's when Dricus might turn the tide, using his pressure and high output to wear Chimaev down and possibly secure a late finish. If this fight does get booked for UFC 319, it's going to be an absolute war, a true test of wills between two rising monsters in the middleweight division. And with inside sources like Reinier de Ridder giving the edge to Dricus, fans have even more reason to be hyped. We'll keep you updated as this matchup develops. Second news of the day, Khabib not happy with Islam Makhachev. It's not every day that we see tension, even lighthearted, between the tight-knit Dagestani camp, especially between two longtime friends like Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev. But recently, fans were surprised to see Khabib call out Islam for what he sees as a reckless new hobby. We've seen fighters like Donald Cerrone take up extreme sports like bull riding, UTV racing, and even base jumping during their off seasons. Well, now Islam Makhachev, the reigning UFC lightweight champion, is embracing a little adrenaline of his own by going off-road dirt biking in the rugged mountains of Dagestan. He recently posted a photo on social media, fully geared up on his dirt bike, with the caption, "This is called hard Duro." Now fans thought it was cool, adventurous, maybe even a sign of confidence and calmness before his next fight. But Khabib wasn't too impressed. He reposted the image on his own profile and made his feelings clear with a simple, direct message. "Islam Makhachev, I don't like this." While it might seem lighthearted on the surface, longtime fans know that Khabib is extremely protective of Islam, not just as a teammate, but as someone he calls a little brother. Khabib has mentored Islam for years, helping guide his career, training alongside him, and now coaching him from the corner. So when Islam takes risks like extreme off-road biking, especially so close to a potential title defense, it's understandable why Khabib would raise an eyebrow. But while Khabib might not be thrilled with Islam's new pastime, he's been keeping busy with a powerful legacy project of his own. The former undefeated lightweight champion recently revealed the completion of his brand new gym in Dagestan, a facility he personally funded using money from his iconic win over Conor McGregor back in 2018. Speaking about the project, Khabib said, "I flew to America, became part of the biggest rivalry in combat sports history, beat someone I didn't like, and got paid for it. When I returned to my homeland, I invested that money into this beautiful place." The gym is massive, modern, and designed to serve young athletes across Dagestan. Despite acknowledging that he might never get his investment back, Khabib's vision is bigger than profit. He made it clear, this is about the next generation. This is about giving back, about building something that lasts, even after fighting is done. So while Islam enjoys the thrill of riding mountain trails, Khabib is focused on building empires back home, teaching discipline, training youth, and preparing the next wave of Dagestani warriors. Whether or not Islam gives up his new hobby remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure, Khabib is still keeping a watchful eye. Moving on to another big headline, the MMA community reacts to the latest Nate Diaz altercation. Let's be honest, Nate Diaz and chaos go together like gloves in a cage. Whether it's the all-out Strikeforce brawl in Nashville or the infamous water bottle war with Conor McGregor during UFC 202 Fight Week, Nate has never shied away from confrontation. But his most recent drama has the MMA world talking once again, this time in Russia. While participating in the Russian version of The Ultimate Fighter, Nate found himself in the middle of yet another heated altercation, this time with Zalimkhan Yusupov, a fighter who previously made headlines for almost putting Aljamain Sterling to sleep during a controversial incident. So what really happened? Nate's longtime teammate and fellow veteran Jake Shields broke it all down in a video recap that has since gone viral. According to Shields, things were normal at first. They were walking out fighters, 5 or 6, nothing crazy yet. I was talking to Jon Jones's manager. Then suddenly, this guy comes up to Nate and starts flashing him, saying he's a gangster. Nate flashes back, and then, bam, Nate slaps him. Yep, you heard that right. A full-blown slap to the face. And what was security's reaction? Crickets. Shields continued. The guy spazzed out. Jose popped him in the head. Then he tried to act tough again. Turns out this guy has a history of sneaking up and choking people. If I had watched the show, I'd have known this. Clearly, this was a setup for drama and ratings. That last part struck a chord. Because now the MMA community is split down the middle. Was this genuine beef or manufactured drama? Social media lit up immediately after the video surfaced. This was clearly staged by producers. Anything for views. Jon Jones just wanted a party. Nate Diaz brought the chaos. No one dared mess with Jones. They picked their battles wisely. This is why Nate Diaz is a legend. No filters, no apologies. And of course, some fans were just there for the entertainment. This is better than half the fights in the octagon. As for Nate himself, in true Diaz fashion, he hasn't commented. Not a word. No tweet, no interview, no statement, just silence. And that trademark Stockton smirk. But make no mistake, whether staged or spontaneous, Nate Diaz once again reminded the world who he is. A fighter who lives by the code of no nonsense, no fear, and absolutely no backing down. And you can bet the producers got exactly what they wanted. Headlines, clicks, and the legend of Nate Diaz growing even louder. On to more news, and this one's heating up fast. Anthony Smith explains why Jon Jones is not scared of Tom Aspenol. For over a year now, Tom Aspenol has been chasing one of the biggest fights in UFC history, a unification bout against the reigning but inactive heavyweight king Jon Jones. After winning the interim heavyweight title in devastating fashion, Tom has made it clear he wants Jon next, and he wants it now. But as months go by with no confirmation, no contracts, and no real progress, fans have started asking the question out loud, is Jon Jones ducking Tom Aspenol? Well, former light heavyweight title challenger Anthony Smith doesn't think so. Not even close. Speaking candidly, Smith broke it down. Jon doesn't think he can be beaten. He believes it's God's will that he's perfect. Look at the guys he's faced. Vitor Belfort, Rashad Evans, Thiago Santos, Alexander Gustafsson, Dominic Reyes. These are some of the scariest dudes in the sport. And even when it got close, Jon found a way. And he's not wrong. Jon Jones has one of the most stacked resumes in MMA history. From beating legends like Shogun Rua to dominating undefeated talents, and even winning close wars against fighters who pushed him to the brink. He's never crumbled, never folded, and most importantly, never lost legitimately. Sure, Tom Aspenol is a new breed of heavyweight. Fast, powerful, technical, and deadly on the ground. But Anthony Smith is convinced that none of that matters to Jones. He's weird for sure, but scared, never. So if it's not fear, what's the holdup? Some fans say Jon is waiting for Stipe Miocic, the original matchup that was scheduled before injuries delayed everything. Others say Jon only wants legacy fights and doesn't care about interim belts or newer contenders. And then of course, there are those who believe Jones has already accomplished everything and owes nothing to anyone. Still, the public perception is hard to shake. Tom Aspenol is rising fast, knocking people out and calling Jon's name in every interview. And the longer Jon stays silent, the more people whisper the D word, duck ducking. But if you ask Smith or anyone who's ever shared the cage with Jon Jones, they'll tell you the same thing. You might not like Jon Jones, you might think he's arrogant, but scared? He doesn't even understand that word. And that's what makes this potential matchup so fascinating, because when an unstoppable rising star like Tom Aspenol meets a living legend like Jon Jones, someone's aura has to break. Will it be the old king or the new lion? Only time and the UFC matchmakers will tell. Next headline, and this one comes with some frustration. Robert Whitaker is tired of waiting for Jon Jones versus Tom Aspenol. Former middleweight champion Robert Whitaker is known for being calm, composed, and respectful, but even the Reaper has his limits. And when it comes to the seemingly endless wait for Jon Jones versus Tom Aspenol, Whitaker says what many in the MMA world are thinking. Honestly, who even cares anymore? That's what he told the media during a recent interview, and he didn't stop there. I'm done. It's like waiting for Elder Scrolls 6. You just gotta play something else, man. In classic Whitaker fashion, he dropped a pop culture reference that hit home with fans. Waiting for Jon Jones to fight Tom Aspenol has become the MMA equivalent of waiting for a video game that keeps getting delayed. Promised, but never delivered. At first, the hype was real. After defeating Cyril Gane in under 3 minutes to become heavyweight champion, Jon Jones was booked to face Stipe Miocic, a clash of legends. But injuries, timeouts, and negotiations have left fans in limbo. Meanwhile, Tom Aspenol stepped in and captured the interim heavyweight title with a brutal KO over Sergey Pavlovich. Since then, silence. And for fighters like Whitaker, it's becoming a joke. People poking Jon for interviews and sound bites? It's more annoying than helpful. He added, "How does he still hold the title?" At first I said no one's tripping Jon. But mate, come on, you're taking the piss. Tom hasn't fought in almost a year. Let's move on. Whitaker's words echo a growing sentiment that the division is being held hostage. And while fans wait, careers are stalling, contenders are aging, and momentum is being lost. Let's be honest, the UFC is about movement, excitement, and big moments. But when the heavyweight title sits on a shelf while the best in the world are left fighting for interim belts, it creates confusion and frustration. And Robert Whitaker, who's been through delays, cancellations, and politics himself, knows that time doesn't wait for anyone, not even a legend like Jon Jones. He's not saying Jones isn't the GOAT. He's not saying Tom doesn't deserve it. He's just saying the show must go on. Whether that means stripping the belt, forcing a unification, or just admitting the fight isn't going to happen, Whitaker wants the sport to move forward. And he's not alone. As time ticks away, the call for clarity is growing louder. And unless something changes soon, fans and fighters alike might just stop caring altogether. Because in MMA, if you wait too long, someone else becomes the main event. And finally, this might be the biggest twist in the UFC storyline right now. Islam Makhachev has accepted Ilia Topuria's 170 call out. That's right, the lightweight kingpin is officially open to facing the newly crowned featherweight champion Ilia Topuria, but not just anywhere. At welterweight, let's rewind for a second. Ever since Ilia's brother Alex Topuria dropped the bomb that Ilia wants to chase Islam Makhachev at 170 pounds, the MMA world has been in full speculation mode. Fans, analysts, and fighters are asking, is this legit? Could we really see Ilia versus Islam at 17-0? Well, now we have an answer. Islam was recently asked about the call-out during a media scrum, and his response sent shockwaves across the MMA community. Yeah, I heard what Ilia said. If he keeps winning and I clean out the division like I plan to, why not? I'm open to it. At 17-0, that's not just a polite deflection, that's a message. Loud and clear. Islam Makhachev is not brushing off Ilia Topuria. He's not laughing it off, he's building the hype. He's playing the long game, and that tells us one thing. Islam might be planning to stay at welterweight long term. For months, there's been talk about Islam eventually moving up in weight. After all, he's already made a successful lightweight title defense against Alexander Volkanovski, the former featherweight king. If Islam beats Jack Della Maddalena, who recently stepped in to face him at UFC 308, that would be his statement win at 170 pounds. Meanwhile, Ilia Topuria is set to defend his featherweight title against Charles Oliveira, a former lightweight champion and Islam's most dominant win to date. If Ilia takes out Charles, he'll have officially nearly conquered 2 generations of elite fighters. At that point, the next logical move? Super fight status. Ilia versus Islam at 170 would be a historic clash between 2 elite champions from different divisions, both undefeated in the UFC, both dominant, both brimming with confidence. It would be a war of styles, skills, and pride. Not just about belts, but about legacy. And let's be honest, the UFC would love this. These two are marketable. They bring different fan bases, different countries, different fighting philosophies. And with Islam being a close friend and protege of Khabib Nurmagomedov, and Ilia being a proud representative of Spain and Georgia, this would be an international blockbuster. But Islam made one thing clear: he's not skipping the line. First, he plans to finish his business in the lightweight and welterweight divisions. He's not chasing names for headlines. He wants to dominate. Still, he left the door wide open. If he's still there, I'll be there too. So now the stage is set. The countdown has begun. All eyes are on 2 rising dynasties, 2 champions, and 1 potential showdown that could reshape the pound-for-pound rankings forever. Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. The future might just be inevitable.